In every Spider-Man movie, there is some kind of explanation for how Peter managed to make his suit and even web shooters, and each approach is very different from the other.
It rides up in the crotch a little bit too.
In Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Peter decides to make his first Spider-Man costume to enter into a wrestling contest which requires a colorful suit. Peter begins brainstorming different suits he could wear. There's one that features underwear, a cape, and an hourglass-like mask. Another is all black and red. However, knowing that the suit needs color, Peter becomes inspired by the colors of the spider, developing this particular design for his costume. However, seeing that Peter has absolutely no skill for making his own suit, he settles for a sweater and balaclava mask instead. This is the suit he wears during the wrestling match. And in the original film, after Uncle Ben's death, we have no clue how he went from this homemade costume to this extremely professional-looking suit. Well, this suit is explained in the Spider-Man 2 novelization. Here, it's explained that after his wrestling match with Bonesaw, a wrestler named the Flying Dutchman, who was impressed by Peter's performance, put him in touch with his tailor brother who would make him a suit for free. Peter visits this tailor and shows him a design he's hoping to see. The tailor would go ahead and create this iconic Spider-Man costume, though Peter did make some tweaks to it. In terms of how Peter made the web shooters, well, he didn't in the final movie. However, web shooters were present in the early film. According to an alternate script, Peter built his web shooters using junk from a junkyard because it's made of literal junk. When you take a look at the models of the web shooter, it looks very put together, dirty, and rustic, like it's made from literal trash.
What are you? You a cop?
Really? You seriously think I'm a cop? Cop in a skin-tight red and blue suit. You know, you're...
In The Amazing Spider-Man, Peter makes his suit to hide his identity while hunting for Uncle Ben's killer. Every subsequent change he makes to the suit from there on is not really explained in universe. We know that Peter took heavy influence from Olympic athletic attire, so it's no doubt that he acquired athletic clothing and modified it using resources he could get his hands on, like using the lens of glasses to create the eyes and a silkscreen to place in the logo. The only thing not modified is the mask, which he sewed himself. The web shooters, like the suit, is modified from something pre-existing. Peter made the web shooters using a watch as a base. Thanks to viral marketing for The Amazing Spider-Man, we know that Peter tinkered with several different designs until he landed on the one seen in the movie. Though he was smart enough to invent web shooters, Peter did not make his own web fluid. The fluid, as far as we know, is a bio-cable developed by Oscorp, which seems to be sold to the mass market, as Peter was able to somehow acquire a box of it. He likely then tweaked the bio-cable to work within the web shooter. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the costume and web shooters completely changed, and the movie provides no explanation for why this was the case. Thankfully, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 Prelude comic does offer context. In the story, Gwen suggests that since Peter is becoming more popular, he should give himself a more media-friendly look. Peter dismisses the idea at first until his costume is destroyed in a jet turbine. This leads Peter to consider Gwen's suggestion, agreeing to create a new costume and web shooters. So in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the suit purely exists, so Peter has a more friendly, mass appeal design.
Oh! Oh my god!
Put it on.
What this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Let's go.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. Is it for me?
In the MCU, Peter Parker created basically everything himself. The costume is very simplistic, as it's just ordinary clothing, except for the lenses. According to Peter, the lenses were developed to help him focus due to his heightened senses. Peter also created the web shooters, which are these huge, bulky devices that take up a majority of his wrist. This is likely because Peter doesn't have the resources to streamline and simplify the design, leading to these massive web shooters. Also, unlike Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Peter does go out of his way to develop his own web fluid, rather than using a commercial biocable which can only be created using special spiders. This is the suit Peter would use in his first 6 months before meeting Tony Stark, who would develop an upgraded version of this suit for Peter. This same suit is more or less brought back in Spider-Man Far From Home, as Peter uses the Stark Tech Fabricator to create basically the same kind of costume but with slight changes. However, by the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter appears to sew a brand new costume. It's unclear why this is the case, but it's likely because nobody knows Peter is Spider-Man, so Peter no longer has the resources to maintain the original Stark Tech suit, forcing him to go back to basics. We all know by now that this suit, shown at the end of No Way Home, is making a comeback in the new film Spider-Man Brand New Day, however with some slight changes. The eyes on the mask are made to be much bigger, the lines on the suit are raised and textured, and the suit logo is of course much bigger and stylistic compared to the more small, bug-like look. The biggest difference with this new suit is the web shooters, which are these giant cylindrical objects. It seems Peter still was not able to completely streamline the original web shooters, as they are still massive and take up a lot of space.